job, I think this is my 30th year. I do the farm inspections in town. I am not animal control. I'm not the person that's coming to see you when your dog's running loose. I'm the person that's coming to see you if you have farm animals of any type in town. Susan is my health director, Susan Sawyer. She's been very patient with me over the years, trying to change my guidelines so that we can make it a little bit more feasible for people to have backyard chickens and be homesteaders and have fresh eggs and all that great stuff that we all want to know where our food is coming from. How many of you here are interested in having chickens for fresh eggs? Anybody here for meat? All right, so that's something we can talk about that as well. We can do both. We got a lot of ground to cover. We have a nice presentation. We're going to talk about how do you actually get chickens in town? What do you need? What are the requirements? That's the first step. You need to know what the requirements are to see if it's feasible for you to have them in your property to begin with. Susan's going to touch on that. I have Sarah Kingston, who's our town nurse. She's going to talk about,
Kinghorn. Oh, yeah. Kingston's where I live.
Oh, Kinghorn, sorry, Kinghorn. She's going to talk about the health and wellness, the important things about keeping yourself healthy, keeping your family healthy. It's all general knowledge, but it's never talked about enough. So we're going to cover the bases on that. So yeah, all the chickens in this are my chickens. Let's see. All right, so the content tonight, first we're going to talk about permit and registration. Susan's going to cover that. We're going to go over basic chicken care. Coop and run information. How much space do you need? How many girls are you going to have? You know, how much room do they need to run around? Winter with chickens. My last chicken talk was a great time to do it because we had just gotten slammed with snow. And I looked at everybody, I go, are you willing to go out and shovel snow and go out at least once a day? Because you're going to have to. You can't leave them alone, and not give them fresh water and food. And we're going to talk a lot about predators. I have some personal experience on that. That's even changed since my last chicken talk. Which chicken breed is for me? There's so many breeds out there. How do you know what you want? Do you have kids? Do you want something friendly? Are you going to name your girls? Are they strictly just going to be there for consumption and eggs? Nutrition. What am I going to feed them? You could go old school. There's people that just feed them table scraps. You can go organic. You can do free range. There's all sorts of options. Health and wellness, which Sarah's going to touch base on. Common mistakes. There's definitely a learning curve. I've made mistakes. Even the pros make mistakes. And then I'll give you some great resources that you can have that you can just look up over and over again. I mean, I'm on the web still to this day, learning something new every day. I have like a whole Pinterest board. I have a whole thing on Etsy of people that I follow, Instagram. I follow Sammy the Chicken. I follow, there's so many neat things out there. So I think let's get started and we will go with permit or registration. And Susan's going to talk about that, the difference between each of them, and you need to know the rules of what you need to have.
Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
So this is my first chicken talk. I missed the other one, so if anybody heard about it. Had you heard about this through actually the library website, or through a friend, or?
The sign.
The sign, great, okay, it's good to know. This is such a great venue, and we really appreciate the library allowing us to do these events, and Sarah's done some other things here. We do, public health does so many things, so we're from emergency preparedness to chickens, to restaurants, septic systems. So you never know what you're going to get when you see a public health talk here. So keep your eye out for that. Chickens. We have 351 towns in the state of Massachusetts, and they're towns and cities. They all handle things differently. And that's what makes Massachusetts, Massachusetts. It's a home rule state, so every town gets to do what they want, unless there's a state rule. So there's no rule about this particular issue. So I've worked in multiple towns. One, they can go anywhere they want. You can put a chicken in your front yard, you can put 10 chickens over here, you have this. Another one, no chickens. They just didn't want any animals, or too busy of a community. So coming here, I learned really you got to see what your community is about. So what fits for Tewksbury does not fit in other communities. So people will call me and say, well, how come you let them, but they don't let me? And I said, don't judge your own town, talk by what we do. We've come up with what works for us, and hopefully works for you. And I'm not trying to say Tewksbury's better, but I think that we have a very progressive view. Public health shouldn't be the gatekeeper. Public health is about public health. It's about keeping things that could cause illness, from causing illness, from causing a nuisance, from causing a problem. So the health department here, the Board of Health, decided that the three main things that we needed to be concerned about was keeping the feed, safe and secure and healthy for the chickens, managing the manure, and the pest control. So our local regulation, which we have some copies are here, or you can look online, that's what public health, that's what that's about. It's not about how much light and everything you need and how many feet per run and things like that. Pam can tell you all about that. That's the best practices of keeping chickens. We care that we believe if you keep those three things, feed, manure, and pest control in check, that anyone can have chickens in the proper, in an area in their backyard, certain size, depending. We don't have 100 feet from the neighbor. We don't have that kind of requirement. Because every yard is different. You could have 100 feet here, but then you're bothering somebody over there, and they'll say, oh, no, I have my 100 feet. So this is really practical chicken, practical backyard chicken. So we came up with two major categories: permits, registrations. Both applications are back there. A permit will be for the person who wants to have 12 or more. They want to, is it more than 12? Sorry, is it more than 12? I get confused.
Yeah, more than 12.
Chickens. They might want to have a goat, they might want to have a horse, they might want to have duck. That process did not change. Your neighbors are not going to just wake up one morning and have that next door. You will have to apply, you will have to have a public hearing, you will have to come before the Board of Health and get a permit and have an annual fee, very small, but annual inspections. Chickens, or hens, we like to say because of the hens, because we only want females. Hens are under 12, or 2 to 4 rabbits, if you're into rabbits. Many people are. Those can go under a registration. So registration, no fee to apply. There is no annual fee. You fill out the application in the front as much as you can. If you don't know, you just wait for your inspector to come. And what they might mean, like what do you mean by a pest control management plan, or what do you mean by a feed management plan? So you fill out the front part, you sign the back, and bring it in, and then our administrator gives it to Pam. She calls you, she comes out, she walks around your property. Talks to you about the best practices and all that. Whether or not your property is even suitable. Could be too wet, too dark, too whichever. She has all the experience, we totally trust her, the board trusts her judgment in general. But if you don't like her decision, you can go before the Board of Health if you want.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't happened yet, because generally she can explain why, if it's not suitable and it's not safe for the chicken. So generally, if it's a no, they go, you're right, probably not a good place. Yeah, that's okay. So everything else is pretty much, you learn from Pam, for the most part, when you go out. We're talking mostly about registrations tonight. But the reason we went with the 0 fee and the 0 annual fee, you will get an inspection by Pam, even though you're not paying a fee because you have a registration. We want to know where they are. We want to be able to tell you if there's a problem with any kind of avian flu, if there's new recommendations on vaccinations, if there's some strange thing that, is killing them and we don't know why, we'll contact you. So that's why we want people to, if they have them already, there's no penalty. However, you do get inspected. And if that's the case, and you have too many, you might have to lower your flock, things like that. But everyone gets an opportunity to have them here in Tewksbury, not everywhere else.
Nope, not everywhere.
I think it's a good marriage between local public health, farmers, regulations, not over-regulating, but yet it should help with neighbor complaints, because with what they're going to tell you, you have to know your neighbors, clearly. If you do get the registration, we will notify your neighbors, because we believe in a good neighbor policy. So we will just notify them. They can't run out the door and go, no, you can't have them. But if you don't do it safe and healthy, they can complain. And that can be taken from them. So we believe so far, it's only been a year.
So far, so good.
So it's only been a year, but it took a lot of years to get here.
It took a long time to get to this point.
So I hope that the years that we're still here, I hope we don't have a lot of problems. We'll have problems. Everybody has problems. With regulations, things come up. If there's a problem, we'll deal with it. And that's what we do.
Yep.
Did I miss anything on that?
I think that was it.
Sure, if I forgot. And you can always call us anytime, and we'll either get you to Pam or help you with that answer. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
All right, so just before I move on to some of our basic chicken care, I do work for the Board of Health. I also report to the Department of Food and Agriculture at the state level. Every year I get this fantastic thing. It's called the Barn Book. It's basically a census. Every farm animal in town that I'm aware of that I know has a permit or registration goes in this book. The state likes to keep tabs on where the animals are for a multitude of reasons. Any natural disasters, we need to evacuate, we need to know where everybody's going, bioterrorism, all sorts of stuff. It's all things that the state just needs to know. A little bound book comes out once a year. You get to see my smiling face. I check in, see how the girls are doing and how's everything going. And yeah, it's a pretty basic routine inspection, nothing scary. Okay, so basic chick care. Now, people always ask me, should I get chicks? Should I get pullets? I see people giving away these adult hens. Should I just go get myself some adult chickens that are gonna lay me eggs and not bother with any of these chicks in the mess? Totally up to you, depends on your situation. Be leery, if somebody's offering you these chickens and they're fabulous, chances are they're not laying anymore, or they're at the end of their laying period. And within a very short period of time, you're gonna have this awesome coop filled with these great chickens who are not gonna lay eggs for you for much longer. I obviously went with the chick route because A, they're so cute, first of all, right? B, they bond with you. It sounds crazy, but they will come by name. Mine all have names. They're in my backyard free ranging with my dogs. They're friendly, they love to be held. That's what I opted to have because we have kids, we have neighbors, and I wanted it to be a great environment for people to come in and see them. If you decide to take that route, it's a little bit of work to get them up and running. This is a sample of a brooder box. My husband built one like that for me, Rubbermaid container with the hardware cloth on top because we had cats, so we didn't want the cats to eat them. Basic waterer and feeder. Heat lamp, we're going to talk a lot about heat lamps and heat lamp safety, but we'll touch back on that. And starter crumbles, because they're so little and teeny. And they are inside for a while, not necessarily in your house. They can be in a garage. They can be in a basement. It is too cold for them to be outside this time of year. There are chicks now. Dodge Grain has them. Tractor Supply has them. You can get them, but until it's a certain temperature outside, it's not safe to move them outside, or until they're fully feathered, which can take about 4 months. So keep that in mind. Coop and Run. This is my fantastic coop that my husband, who is a saint, helped me build. This was my goat barn. I raised goats in town for years and years. My dad is in the back. He is a man of very many patience. Most girls don't want goats. His poor daughter wanted goats, and I had them. So the goats are long gone. This is now the coop, and you can see we kind of went online and did that run off the back, which is fabulous. Hardware cloth is your best friend as far as predators go. We're also going to touch base on that as well. I kept this middle picture shows storage. You'll see my feed and how I have that all prepared. There's the ladies tucked in at night. There's definitely a pecking order. We'll talk about that as well and how they roost and all that. It sounds crazy, but it's a true fact. You certainly don't have to have curtains, but I ended up adding curtains because I introduced new girls to the existing flock, and they like their privacy. So we did that, and this is a fantastic, this is my little roosting thing that I found that on Backyard Chickens, I think I found it, and it's fantastic. Like now it's, in the winter I do it like once a week. I just scoop it out like cat litter, put it in the Ziploc bags. I save some, the really good stuff I save from my garden, obviously. Put it in a trash bag and chuck it, or I compost it. Cuts down on a lot of dust. I mean, I do, there's still shavings in the bottom of the coop, but that helps a lot. But a clean coop is a healthy, happy coop. There's certain things that are, you need to do like on a daily basis. You need to check your nesting boxes. You don't want any, these eggs came out of my coop yesterday and today. I haven't washed them. They're that clean because my nesting boxes are that clean. And I like them that clean. I wash them before I use them. That's personal choice. You can come up and look at them after. There's different variables and intervals that you do need to clean. Like I do my little poop tray like once a week, once every other week. But the main floor of the coop, I do that once a month, once every 2 months, depending on, because I use a deep layer method, and it works well. How often you clean it depends on how many chickens you have, depends on the size of the coop. The number one thing, if you walk in, you can smell it. Like if you walk in, you smell poop and you smell ammonia, you need to do a little cleaning. That's the best thing. It's kind of common sense. But it's always better to be clean, cleaner than not clean. Better for the girls, better for, do you like shavings or do you like straw? Personal preference. I've always used shavings. They do create dust. What do you use in your coop?
I use shavings.
Yeah, so she uses shavings too. Lisa Steele, who I think...
Straw in the laying area.
So you put straw in your nesting boxes. Yeah, so she does both. It's all in what you're very comfortable with. Lisa Steele, Backyard Chickens, she swears by straw. Straw on the floor and everything because it cuts down on the dust. Shavings are dusty, do you agree?
Yeah.
They're definitely dusty. Definitely, but it's all in, what works for you. Winter with chickens. Spring is right around the corner. This is fabulous. This is the best time to get into chickens. They're cute, they're fluffy, the flowers are blooming, the weather's turning nice. It's fantastic. You think of spring, you think of baby chicks. Winter is not as glamorous in the chicken coop world, chicken keeping world. Please don't heat your coop. They will survive. They're birds. They're cold-blooded animals. They're just like any other bird. They're like the wild turkeys that are outside. They're like the cardinals. Bald eagles, they're birds. Don't heat your coop. This past weekend, there was a massive fire on Martha's Vineyard. A barn, 3 cows, 30 sheep, 50 chickens, all gone because of a heat lamp. And it happens that fast. You can literally have, it also encourages them to stay inside. My girls get outside every day. They don't necessarily like it in the winter, but they need the fresh air. And the draft-free coop is the most important part. I put plastic up on my windows. It's more important for them to not be sitting in front of a draft all winter. They're not going to freeze to death. They may get a little frostbite if they have big, combs. Not a big deal. It's nothing that's going to affect their health. You could have a chicken who's crazy, because there are some, that flies up into the heat lamp. She can catch herself on fire like that, and your whole coop will be gone. And it's devastating. I mean, not only that, it could cause damage to your house. If it's close to your house, you could have other animals in there, so please, please, please don't heat your coop. And this is a fun fact. 10 chickens can produce about as much heat as a regular light bulb. Plus, they're covered in feathers. If you pick them up in the winter and you put your hands under their little wings, guess what? It's like a down coat. They're totally fine. The problem with the winter is it's a lot more work for you. You need to be able to shovel out to the coop. I have a heated water base. I think I have a picture of it coming up next. I don't. It's on another side. Galvanized 5-gallon pail, just runs with an extension cord, sits on there. I did have it freeze, I think, once or twice this winter. I thought, it's got to be broke. It's got to be broke. No, it was just that cold. But it works great, and it just keeps it, anytime it drops below 32, if you touch it, is it super hot to the touch? No, but it's warm enough with the galvanized metal that your water will not freeze, and it'll make a lot less work for you in the winter. You can use the plastic ones. You're gonna be going out there 2 to 3 times a day to change your water. So I strongly, there's different heated ones out there as well. So if you can survive your first winter with chickens, you've done well. Predators. Now, the beautiful part of living in New England is we're surrounded by wildlife. Yep, we have a lot of coyotes in town. Our animal control officers just did a coyote talk probably about a month ago. I actually didn't get to go to it. But coyotes are not your biggest predator. They're there, but they're definitely not your biggest predator with chickens. I've had a few things happen. I've had one of my most favorite chickens killed by a skunk. Devastating. Ask my dad. I cried for a week. Absolutely devastated. Free ranging, they're outside in the yard, fenced in yard, the dogs are out there, everybody's running around. I went to school, because I work in a school during the day. I came home and there were feathers everywhere. I thought, this isn't a good sign. She was she wasn't still a chick, she was not quite a pullet, somewhere in between, not big enough to get away from, they won't eat an adult chicken. Oh yeah, they ate her guts right out, left her body right there. It was terrible. So that was in a fenced in yard during the day, and it will happen. Hawks are starving right now, starving. I mean, I have more hawks in my yard. I see very few squirrels. It was after my last chicken talk, and I'm the one saying, never underestimate predators, don't underestimate them. I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice out. I don't see any hawks. I'm just gonna let them out while I change their water. It'll be 10 minutes. So I'm watching them. I got my little baseball bat. I'm ready. I'm like, okay. I step in the run. I go to get their little trays that I put their scratch in, and I hear this screaming. I'm like, oh, I turn around. Oh yeah, red-tailed hawk comes right down, tries to grab Mabel. How Mabel survived and got away from it. The yellow lab was useless at this time. He did nothing. I threw a pan at the hawk, scared the hawk away. She survived, but literally it happened that fast. They haven't been out since. They're not coming out for a while. I just hired a professional pest guy to come get a skunk, which I think is the skunk that killed Luna. That skunk is now gone. Everywhere, digging in the yard, going underneath the chicken coop. Your neighborhood cats can eat your chickens. Foxes, possums, fisher cats, coyotes, coy wolves, your own dog. Do not trust your own dogs. My dogs are fine with them. It took a long time to get to that point. Not with the lab, but with the French bulldog. She loves them now. Do you have dogs with yours? Do you have a dog or no?
No, we have a cat who just
Sits there and he's fine. Yeah. Just always, Aaron, but don't underestimate them. I mean, I just did it since my last chicken talk. I thought 10 minutes, I'm right here. What can happen? Whew. Luckily, Mabel's okay. So, no roosting outside means there are some people that will literally just leave them out. They free range, they go up in the trees at night, they will go put themselves to bed, but some of those crazy chickens will well, I'm just gonna stay in this tree all night. An owl will get them, anything can get them. Chicken wire is good in some spots. You can have a raccoon that can just go like this with chicken wire, and they pull them right through. And it's unbelievable. Depending on how your hens are killed will tell you what predator got them. They all kill with a very specific style. That's how I knew a skunk had gotten Luna. And some of them are wasteful. Some will just pop their heads off and just leave them, not even eat them. So I strongly recommend hardware cloth. It is expensive. It is a little bit harder to work with. You need to wear gloves. Nothing can get through it. Nothing. My coop is super safe. We went under, up, and it has a roof over it. So nothing's even if something digs underneath, there's no way it's gonna get through that hardware cloth. Cover the run. You always have to have good, the two-step latches, because if your latches are too low and where your animals go in, a raccoon will have no problem going click with their little hands and open it and going right in. Close the coop and run doors at dusk. So when in the summer when things calm down and it's safe, they will be out free ranging again. They do put themselves to bed at night, and I do shut the doors at night. I never leave the doors open. It's just not worth it. And that hawk, these are not from my yard per se, but again, my dad he's called me and said, Pamela, that hawk is sitting on the chain link fence, staring in the chicken coop at the chickens. So they will eat them quickly. All right, let's talk about the fun stuff now. What kind of chicken do I want? Please, please, please do your homework. You want chickens that are winter hardy. I would say 90% of the chickens sold in the grain stores around here are winter hardy. They will survive the winter. I have a friend who went up to Maine and he thought he got 2 Buff Orpingtons. And pretty early on I said to him, well, they're definitely not Buff Orpingtons. I'm not sure what they are. Well, they're leghorns. People do get leghorns, but you know what? Their wattles are huge. They're beautiful. You know, foghorn, leghorn, that big chicken, right? They get so frostbit. So not really winter hardy. But Dodge Grain, I've never gotten anything from Tractor Supply. O'Connor Hardware does a nice job. Chelmsford Agway does a nice job. Most of them are pretty knowledgeable about what they have coming in. If you are looking for meat birds, that's an option as well. These are all the different breeds I have. So the top left, that's Fiona. She's an Easter egger. She lays these gorgeous blue eggs over here. Then one next to her is a Barred Rock or a Plymouth Rock. They go by both names. Buff Orpingtons, super friendly, lovely, lovely. This was supposed to be another Barred Rock from Dodge Green, but we got her home and she grew up and she actually is an Australorp. She's lovely, she's loud, but she's lovely. This is a Lacey Wyandotte, and this is Crazy Maisie. She came from a friend's farm and she's just like a little bantam silky cross. I don't know what she is, but she's absolutely awesome. Tons of personality. The bantams, I have a bantam egg here as well. They're smaller, but the personalities on the bantams are fantastic. And silkies are the same. If you have kids, they're unbelievable. But if you really don't want to get friendly with your chickens.
Is something louder than others?
Just like children. Not necessarily the breed, it'll be the chicken per se. You know, they're needier than others. But I wouldn't say any breed is louder than the other. She's just very vocal. She's needy. All right, so what are you gonna feed? The way that most of the Dodge Grain, Blue Seal feeds, Tractor Supply, from when they're hatched to when they're about 4 months old, you're gonna go between 18 to 20% protein. You want them to just grow fast. They're like starter crumbles, starter pellets, personal preference. And then when they get 16 to 18, there's one in between. I just threw them right on the layer pellets. You could do like a 3 or 4 step thing. I just put them right on the layer pellets. The faster they're on the layer pellets, the faster they're gonna lay. 16% protein. And then the scratch grains are a treat only. Don't feed them those all the time because there's not a lot of protein in them, but they're fun. There's grit in them. It's like cereal for chickens. If what you put into them is what you're gonna get out. A gentleman just this week, he's like, oh, you don't just feed them like the big kernels of corn? I was like, no, there's no protein in that. I'm like, you can make, that's old school though. Don't get me wrong, people have done it forever, but if you want like a good quality egg and your birds to lay longer and get your money's worth out of that $3.99 you spent, I feed them well. I only do organic chicken food, but the treats I give them aren't necessarily organic. Personal preference, totally personal preference, nothing you have to do. I think that corn is the most genetically modified crop we do in America, so I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna feed them organic layer pellets. Everything else is just regular. And they lay very well, and the eggs are gorgeous and healthy, and they're bright, bright, bright orange. Mealworms too, we'll talk about that with treats. This is my mealworm container up top. That's a cereal keeper. That's what I keep my mealworms in. The blue one has the scratch grains in it, and the pellets are in that. Everything's sealed up tight. Nothing can get in. Some people have brought up a good point. Sure, if it's outside, definitely a rodent will eat through the plastic. My grain is not outside. I keep it inside. Some people will keep it like in their garage. You can keep it like on your 3-season porch. You can keep it outside, but even with the metal thing, something in the middle of the winter is going to want to get in there. So keep your food safe. It keeps the rodents away, and it keeps your chickens healthier. Okay, on an average, a full-grown laying chicken drinks about a pint of water a day. They love fresh water. If you put fresh water, they will come running out. They love it. Especially in the summer, I have 2 to 3 waterers. just so they have it like in the run. There's one outside, there's one in the coop. And this is the galvanized one over here. You can see the heated one. But there's lots of, do your own things that I've seen on, you can make your own, you can, whatever you want to do. I went with the galvanized because I like the heat, but I have the plastic ones in the summer as well for extra water. Snacks. Snacks, snacks, snacks. So, these are my girls enjoying a lovely head of cabbage, and they love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's a good boredom buster in the winter, mostly what it's for. You know what I mean? Like if they're in the coop and they're not getting out and running around, gives them, and it's, it's nutritious for them. They love broccoli. They love, cut out a watermelon. Don't throw the rind away. Put that rind right out there, and when you're done, you'll just have a piece of green skin. That yucky rind that we don't like to eat as humans, they love it. Cantaloupe, I cut up cantaloupe. When I'm done with I keep the cantaloupe for myself, obviously, and then I bring out the rinds to them, love it. I work in an elementary school, we're big into composting, and why they serve raw broccoli with pizza, I'll never know, but the kids never eat it. So I stand by the compost pile, and they're like, Mrs. Thomas, do you want your chickens to have this broccoli? Yep. I go home with 2 Ziploc bags full of broccoli. They love it. You can put it in a suet cage, or you can just throw it on the ground, and they just peck, peck, peck. Mealworms are fantastic to train your chickens. So the other day when the hawk was out, first thing I did was I ran in, I got the cereal container with the mealworms, and I just go, mealy, mealy, mealies, and I shake it, they all come running. So in an emergency situation, or if you have that one hen that's like, I'm not coming in, I'm just gonna stay out here all night, they'll most likely come in for mealworms. And I know it sounds so gross, but they love scrambled eggs. They shouldn't have raw eggs, but they love scrambled eggs. It's a great source of protein. So say you have like a big family and you have all these extra, scraping your plates, guess what? Give them the scrambled eggs. They love them. And I throw a little oatmeal in the winter scratch, just to give them a little extra in the winter.
Every year I get these big seed blocks. Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah. Have you done that?
Yeah.
Now that's a good boredom buster.
Yeah, they're probably like $17 to $20, but they're huge.
Huge.
Right? I stick it right in the coop, and if they get bored, they just, instead of pecking at each other, they peck
Right.
at the block.
Right, because the winter can be boring for them. But it lasts. It probably lasts.
Yeah, it just kind of went away. So I got it in maybe December, and it lasted till,
That's great.
yeah, just went away. So February, March.
That's great. And then I'm looking at these, so the item below the Happy Hen treats, they're called Grubblies. Those are black soldier fly larvae. Whoa, that's even a better treat than the mealworms. I got a sample of those. Somebody had sent me a Henny and Roo box. You know how you have Chewy and you get like the boxes once a month with all the treats for your dogs? They do them for chickens. So fun. and the Grubblies came in the box, and the girls love them. Now, I do not go buy the girls Grubblies every month. They're not quite that spoiled. But even your pumpkins, in the fall, use them for decorations, not the seeds. But if you want to scoop out the seeds and just leave the pumpkins, they will devour them. There's some things that aren't safe for chickens. Obviously, they're not garbage disposals. It's kind of common sense. Avocado, skins. Seeds are the big thing because they have crops. We'll talk a little bit about the scratch greens and the grit and how that helps them break down the food. Raw potatoes. I read that everywhere. I don't know why. Just don't give them raw. They like mashed potatoes, love mashed potatoes, but don't give them raw potatoes. Chocolate, citrus, dried rice. I think that's because it expand in their belly. Onions. If I'm not entirely sure, that's what Google's for. Is this safe to give? You know what I mean? Should I give this? And if I even question it, they don't get it. Just to be on the safe side. And same thing. Same thing with my dogs. I don't buy dog treats that are made in China because I want to make sure that I know where they're from. I want it to be, and definitely don't give them your moldy bread. Don't give them your moldy bread. Don't give them moldy food. If you won't eat it, don't give it to them. That's the rule of thumb. All right, interesting egg facts. Color of an eggshell is dictated by the hen's breed and genes. That's where you get your Easter eggers, which there's Americanas, Auroricanas, there's so many of them. The umbrella name for them is Easter eggs. They lay beautiful bluish green eggs. I wanted those eggs, so I got Easter eggers. The color of the yolk is dictated by their diet. Yes, I put, in one of those pictures, I'll go back to it, we plant marigolds in the window boxes, so in the summer when the window's open, they can peck at them. But if you feed them great food, their yolks are so unbelievably bright, vibrant orange, not the pale yellow ones you get in the grocery store. Blood spot in an egg does not indicate fertility, because none of you are going to have roosters in your yards. Your chicken eggs are not going to be fertile. And an egg should not be washed just before using it, because there's a natural bloom. When you get to see your, when you get to see your first chicken, sometimes you can see them laying the egg, and when it comes out, it looks wet, doesn't it? It looks totally wet, and it almost looks soft, but that's the natural bloom that goes on the outside of the shell. Within like 15 to 20 minutes, they look like this. They're hard and dry. That keeps the bacteria from entering the shell. That's what keeps your shelf life on your eggs so much longer, versus the eggs you get in the grocery store that they wash the living daylights out of them, which is great, but they take that bloom off, and sometimes by the time you get them, they're like 3 or 4 months old. Blech, it's gross. They spray chemicals on them, and whew, but these, I don't wash them because it keeps that bloom on. We all know the incredible edible egg. Back in the olden days, they were like, oh, it's too much cholesterol, it's this and that. That apparently is now a fallacy. You shouldn't probably eat like a dozen eggs a day, but there's tons of vitamins and nutrients in them, and they're just a really good, a source of protein and vitamins, and they're delicious for you. Health and wellness. I'm going to pass this. This is basically my slide, but just talks about, real quick, for what I do, you always wash your hands. If I go out to the coop, even if I don't touch them, I always wash my hands. Always, always, always. I actually will keep hand sanitizer in the chicken coop so that I hand sanitize when I leave, because I'm still touching the doorknobs to get into the house. Do you know what I mean? And then I wash my hands when I get in the house. And I collect my eggs pretty much every day. Like 98% of the time I collect them every day. Keep your coop clean, and anybody that touches them, feeds them, anything, just wash your hands, just like you would like anything else. That's just like you would after the shopping cart. But we're going to have a little bit more detail on that.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the town nurse, public health nurse. I do a lot of different things in town: surveillance, blood pressure clinics, home visits. I also have chickens, and I have 7 chickens. And while Pam stands here talking, I can think of all these different stories in my head.
There's a lot of stories that go with them, yeah.
I've had them for about 4 years, and I have little kids.
Microphone, sorry.
I have little kids, and you know what? They're not fazed by the chickens. They go out and collect the eggs. They won't clean the coop, though. I can't get them to do that yet. We have a lot of kids in our neighborhood who come in, run around the backyard. So a lot of times I just want to make sure they don't really handle the chickens too much, because I feel like someone's going to get pecked, and then, I don't know if they're washing their hands because they're running all over the neighborhood. So I try to make sure that they just leave the chickens alone. And plus, it's kind of like Rocky. I don't know how they catch them anyway. They're fast. They're really fast if they don't want to be handled. So chickens naturally carry salmonella and campylobacter, which are more commonly, you get them with foodborne illness. So when you have contamination with food. I'll just reiterate what Pam said. You want to wash your hands after you do anything with the chickens. I collect the eggs, and the eggs will have something on them. They kind of come out of a chicken. So, after you handle the eggs, wash your hands. And like her, I wash my eggs before I use them. Sometimes I don't, if they're clean.
If they're super clean. I'm not going to lie, there are times that I don't necessarily wash them all the time. Crack them and use them.
The yolk is, and you're cooking it, so as long as you cook it properly. It's bacteria, and it can make you really sick. So again, just wash your hands after cleaning the coop. I wear gloves. I wear a mask.
Oh, I think I have a slide on that for you too, right?
Okay.
You can just hit the arrow, yeah.
My coop is dusty. It's not as clean as Pam's. I'm probably not as nice to my chickens.
As long as your chickens are healthy, that's all that matters.
Because inevitably they will get sick or die or pass away, and with the kids, we just want them to be there for the eggs. We don't really treat them, we're nice to them, but we don't treat them like our pets, and You know, even though this afternoon they were on our deck, pecking at the door to come in, I'm not gonna let them in my house. You know? So, yeah, just, you know, wash your hands. I wear a mask when I do the Coop just because the particles are everywhere, and it's poop, it's feces, it's in the air, it's particles floating around. Just protect yourself. I did have a case of someone who like adopted a goose and they were pooping in the backyard and they ended up getting some kind of salmonella pneumonia. So these things can happen if you're immunosuppressed, you know, so I just protect yourself, you know, be smart, wash your hands. I'm a big hand washer. I don't have any sanitizer nearby, but I just go and wash my hands. And I try to teach the kids before they put their hands to their mouth, always wash your hands. Yeah, that's basically it. I can think of a ton of stories though, if you have any questions.
Oh, yeah. All right, so common mistakes. You make your coop too small. You get 6 chickens, you're like, this coop is perfect. You fall in love with the chickens. It's too small, you can't have 6 more. So I'm not saying you have to build like a gigantic coop, but plan ahead, you know, and we have all experienced it. We go to Tractor Supply. It is a magical place if you love farm animals. And they have these great coops, and they're like, oh, suitable, just this weekend we were there, suitable for 8 to 10 chickens. My husband, who's now like, you could never put 8 to 10 chickens in that. It literally probably would hold like 5, maybe 6. So the way they sell them, just because it says it can fit 10 chickens, yeah, sure, because they're this little when they start off, but some of them get like, you know, depending on the breed, they can be good sized girls. So I tend to go a little bit on the, you know, a little bit on the bigger side. My whole shed isn't my coop, but my side, what I have, I wouldn't put more than 12 in that. I just wouldn't, because like then they say if they don't have enough space, then they peck at each other and they get weird and they get all like, ugh. You know, and we'll talk a little bit more about that pecking order in a little bit. Introducing flock members too soon, that can turn bad really quickly. You know, you have like your existing, I started off with 8. I ended up losing, lost one, I lost Dorothy, and then I got more chickens, and then trying to introduce them, doesn't, because like they've got this little pecking order, and you got these new ones that walk in and they have no boundaries. They don't know the rules of the coop, and if you don't introduce them too soon, they will kill the younger ones, flat out kill them. Won't even be like, it'll happen quick. There are ways to do it. There's ideas online. I take it probably to the extreme. You know, I keep them separated. They can see each other through the fence. My friends do it for like 4 days. I do it for like 4 weeks because I'm so afraid. They have supervised playtime. There's gonna be some pecking because there's a pecking order. That's what it's for. You know, Fiona, my Easter egg, she has always been the head hen. Nobody ever challenges her. She just is. She's appropriate. She doesn't beat anybody up, but they just respect her and they fall in line, and where they nest at night is where they are in the pecking order. And they will let you know where you're supposed to be. Again, don't underestimate the predators. I can't preach it enough, even though I've done it, you know, twice. Don't underestimate them. Have a little first aid kit in advance. That sounds crazy, but like she had a situation, I've had a situation. You're not going to plan on, you know, your chicken pecking and having a cut, or she had something way more traumatic than that. You know, there's little things like I keep. Oh, I don't have it with me, green goo. It's like all antibiotic ointment for all animals. I use it on the dogs, the cats, you know, anybody, and the chickens. Even bacitracin, Q-tips, just have like little things in hand so that if you go out there and something's happened, you don't want to be running to CVS. There's all sorts of suggestions online for that. We all love to go away. You have to have somebody to watch your chickens. Don't go on vacation for a week and think they're going to be okay. You need to have somebody checking on them. They could run out of food. They could run out of water. You know, I got a husband who travels a lot, so we tend to go away on the weekends, and I don't put my poor dad out in the coop. He deals with the dogs, so I make sure I have somebody that will, you know, keep an eye on them, collect the eggs. You know, if you're going to go away for a longer period of time, you have to have somebody to look after them. All right. We got some great resources. Fresh Eggs Daily with Lisa Steele. She's unbelievable. She really is like, don't judge her. I mean, her coop is amazing. She just went live. She's going to do a TV show. The Chicken Chick, she's fabulous. Coop Dreams, he's hysterical. He's out in Iowa. He does Coops for Troops. He delivers coops to guys from who have PTSD, getting them set up. Like, he's a really cool guy, and like that's his thing. He goes around all over America and gives them coops. My Pet Chicken is just a great go-to, living the good life with backyard chickens, and of course Pinterest. I mean, the stuff you can find on there and how you can, what you can do for your coop, how you can make your own feeders, how you can make your own waterers. It's unbelievable, literally unbelievable. There's a lot, I mean, because we have the web, it's much easier. So here's this is the truth. You go to Tractor Supply, you hear little, I was there staring at them. They had assorted bantams. They were only $1 this weekend. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it because I'm not doing it. It's not a good time for me to get baby chicks right now. So I'm sensibly talking myself out of getting, because I have 10 now, so I can have 2 more. And then I'm thinking about, well, is it worth it to get 2 more? Because then to introduce them, it's like a lot of work. The beauty of it, when you start with, say you start with your 6 and you love it, and I come back out and you're like, I really would like to get another 6, you're gonna have staggered girls laying at different times. So they're not all gonna stop laying at the same time. So it is kind of nice to stagger them if you can put up with the reintroduction. I never thought I'd be a crazy chicken lady, but here I am, loving it. And money can't buy you happiness, but it can certainly buy chickens, and it's kind of the same thing. And they are super fun. The startup cost can be a little, you're not going to make your money, you're not going to make your money back on your first dozen eggs. But if you like to have, we had talked about it when we came in, I have 2 dogs, a fenced-in yard, 0 ticks last year. I did not put 1 ounce of preventative on my dogs all year, not 1 tick. Not 1 tick on any humans. They scratch them up, they eat them, and they don't eat the mosquitoes though, do they? No, they don't do that. But I mean, they're for that benefit alone and for the eggs, and it works for my lifestyle right now, so it's fun. But I'm sure you have 1,000 questions, well, maybe not 1,000. But yeah, pretty much, I think that's the last one, right? Yep. So, who thinks they still want to have the chickens after all this? See? A lot of work. That's all right, though. We talked about this the last time I did this talk. People came up and talked to me afterwards, and there was one woman, she was like, I've always wanted my own chicken. She's like, but I don't think in this stage of my life it's probably a good idea for me. Well, good. I mean, that's good to know, too. I don't want to see anybody get in a situation where they have the chickens and like, this is way too much work. I think the initial day-to-day work is not bad. It totally is not bad. I go out to the coop once a day. If the weather's nice, I could be out there for hours because I enjoy them. But like today, I had a lot going on. I ran out, swilled their water, they had fresh food, gave them their treats, collected the eggs. I was back in the house within 15 minutes, done. So not bad. Any questions? Yes?
How about vets and when they need shots?
Great question. That's a great question. I went all unmedicated feed, and I do not vaccinate, and if they get that sick, they're probably just gonna die. So I haven't taken them to the vet. She had a situation that after the last chicken talk we left, my husband's like, oh, I hope we never have to do that. That's terrible. But I'm a vet tech. I went to school to be a vet tech as well, and I have lots of friends who are vets, so if I had a situation, do you want to tell the story?
I'll tell it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Horrible.
So I think I do medicated feed, but I don't do any vaccine. They get vaccinations, I think, before.
They might get the vaccinations before they ship them, but you don't take them to the vet every year and vaccinate them like dogs.
But and I had 4 Rhode Island Reds, and one of them, and I don't know if one of the kids maybe squeezed her when she picked them up. So I don't know if that happened, and she might have been egg bound, which is an egg kind of inside her. So the egg might have been inside her, and then when you have the coop, you have flies. So the flies can go there, lay eggs and maggots. So I didn't know what to do. I have a vet friend, you just don't know what to do. And she looked horrible, and she was getting lethargic. I think chickens just get lethargic, don't they?
They go downhill quick. When they get sick, they can go downhill really quickly.
2 days, and I was like, I won't tell you too much. If you want to know.
Yeah, you can talk to her after if you really want to know how they took care of it, but woo!
To take it to the vet and to euthanize it, it would have been like $100. We chose to just chop it.
Lop its head off.
And that
I personally couldn't do that, but her husband could.
But I didn't want to see it suffer anymore.
Right.
So I just wanted it.
I'm going to touch back on the egg bound thing after, but you have a question.
Yes, can chicken manure be mixed with compost in
Absolutely.
your garden?
Totally.
Is there any setback from open water for managing the waste?
We don't have setbacks per se anymore, but I wouldn't want you to have your manure pile like, right next to water. That's something that when I come out to you when you have your registration and you say, oh, Pam, this is where I want to keep my manure pile, I might be like, oh, you know what? That's really not the best spot. But we can talk about that. The setbacks are gone now, but, we don't want you having your manure close to wetlands per se, you know what I mean? And I don't think for the amount of chickens you're going to have with the registration, the manure is not great. It's just not great. You know what I mean? It is just enough though that I have 2 raised beds and I dump it in there and I get to till it all, in the spring. I don't dump it all in. I dump a little bit. The real good rich stuff I dump. Otherwise, it just goes in the trash. But getting back to the egg bound, it takes a while for it to break down. Because some people they have those big composting things now. If you put it in that with all your compost and stuff, it'll break down much faster. I had an egg bound girl, my first one, and luckily I have lots of friends who've really experienced, and my friend's like, oh, I'll bring it right over. You just need Epsom salt. I was like, oh, okay. She's like, well, what are you gonna do? And I said, I'm just gonna soak her butt in warm water in the kitchen sink. So filled it up with Epsom salt, and Betty got in the sink, and guess what? She loved it. She was like, oof, her feathers went out. She was like, wow, it's like a bath. And I thought she was gonna be crazy. I thought there's gonna be feathers all over I'm thinking there's gonna be feathers everywhere. 20 minutes, massage your little butt, keep it going, warm water, massage it, massage it, massage it. Went outside, kept her separated from the girls that night, and the egg. So it was weird that the egg bound egg came out, and then a deflated egg came out behind it, and that was a year and a half ago, and she's fine. It only happened once. But Epsom salt, that's another thing you might want to keep on hand in the first aid kit. Didn't know that till I had my first egg bound hen. But you learn as you go. You literally my first one that I lost. Now I know because I learned. I went outside. It was Dorothy. She was gasping for air. My husband's watching rugby. I'm running the house. I'm like, she's dying in my arms. She's like, I knew we shouldn't name them. Why did we name them? Now you're crying. What are we doing? So sure enough, she died in my arms, and she had an impacted crop. Now I know if they get an impacted crop and you get it soon enough, you can, because she was a pig. She was a pig. She was the one who was eating 60 mealworms. She couldn't eat things fast enough, and look what it did. You can tip them upside down, you can massage the crop. So basically it crushed her airway and she was suffocating. So that's what happened. So now I know if I get somebody else with an impacted crop, or if I have a girl who I think is piggy, I'm gonna watch her and limit what she's eating versus thinking, wow, she's a beast. You know what I mean? So we learned that way. I had one fall in the pool, drown. Yep, that happened. Oh yeah. Yep, so that's why I'm down to 10 now, not 12.
You definitely know by the way they're acting. They're usually isolated somewhere. They're not with the flock. They're acting different.
Even this winter, so one of my girls, if I go back to the beginning, I don't know if I can get all the way back to the beginning. This is Piper. See how her comb is bright red and it's really, really healthy? It's really pale right now. She lost a ton of weight this winter. I weight check my girls. Do I weigh them? No. But every once in a while I go in and I just pick them up, and you can tell, how they feeling. They feeling meaty? Would you eat them? Are they some good meat on them? I picked her up and I thought, oh my goodness, I could feel bones. I was like, this is she didn't look it from the outside. She was presenting herself fine to the group, or else they would have killed her. I lost sleep over it. I was Googling everything. I started putting garlic powder, thinking does she have mites, which I knew she didn't have mites. None of them have mites. Then I started putting apple cider vinegar in their water, because I thought, oh, maybe she got a bad belly. Well, I did the weight check the other day. She's fatter than all of them now. But her comb still is not a great color. It should be bright red and healthy. It's still pale. She's laying eggs. She put her weight back on. I went up to Dodge Grain. The guy, Jim's like, yeah, but it's winter time. I mean, if you lose a hen or two, I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm like, Jim, this is my daughter's chicken, and she's away at college. I'm like, I don't lose chickens in the winter because it's winter time. I'm like that to me was not a viable answer, so I wasn't letting it happen. So she has survived the winter. Whether she'll end up living a whole productive another year, we'll see. But you learn as you go. What else?
On the small side, I mean, what's the kind of minimum fenced-in space? And,
It depends. Like for 6, I should have taken a picture of this guy that I just did his this week. His is like perfect for 6, and I said that to him. I'm like, oh, it's just great for 6, but if you want 12, this is going to be big enough. We were kind of kicking around. We were like, oh, it's like 3 square feet per hen. It's hard to do though because depending on the layout of it, like mine's tall. That's just for the coop. Now your coop is different than your run. The coop doesn't have to be as big, but they have to have plenty of room to run as well. Because the coop is basically where they sleep. I keep my food and water in the coop in the winter though. So I mean, it's, we don't have like a set, it was like, was it gonna be 3 square feet per hen? Give or take. But it's not set in stone at all. So you've got a plan and you like it, I can come out and look at it. You can send me a text, I can look at it. There's so many great plans online. And tractor coops are big right now. The only downside, I'm going to be checking in. There's a guy who did a tractor coop last spring, and he was getting adult hens. I'm going to be seeing him soon because it's coming up on his 1-year anniversary. And I was looking at his tractor coop, and I was like, I go, so what about the bottom? He goes, oh, I thought that was great. Then they can just crawl out underneath and like come in free range. I'm like, that is great. But guess what? Anybody else can crawl inside and kill them. He was like, oh, right. So a tractor coop is one that you move around your yard. So they're over here, they make a mess and they ruin your grass. You move them this way, you move them that way. They're
Destroy your garden.
they're gonna destroy. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will destroy your garden.
Big holes everywhere.
They love to.
Baths, everything.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's another thing. I just added an awesome dust bath. I should have updated the picture. Big galvanized pan filled with I bought the commercial stuff, but you can use like wood ash. Don't use if you burn like fake logs, don't use that wood ash because there's chemicals in it. And they literally will find a pile of dirt. And I think there's one picture. Oh, it's frozen now. What's going on there? Oh, here we go. The girls are outside in a hole having a dust bath. And they will dig a hole and they literally take their feathers and they throw dirt on their back and they roll in it and they come out of it but that's what keeps them clean and keeps the mites away. They totally know what they're doing. I don't know, I'm frozen now. So a dust bath is also a good boredom breaker and just overall healthy to keep mites down and keep them healthy. Who else? Somebody else said, yes.
What about grit and oyster shells?
Perfect. Grit is, so oyster shells, if you feed a very balanced food, it should be high enough in calcium. However, every girl's different. I did have one of mine that her shells were really thin, so I bought a small little feeder thing and I just have oyster shells out just for free range. Do they love them? No, but they'll peck at them now and then. The grit is important. That's the scratch grains. I use that for grit. Dodge Grain has an amazing one. It comes from Pennsylvania. It's an Amish grit. It's cheap. I do the 5 grain. It's got little millet seeds, little things, and that's all grit that goes into their crop to help them break down the food so that they don't get that impacted crop. That's a treat though. I think I was giving my girls even too much scratch because they really love it. And in the winter, I give it to them at the end of the day before they go to bed just because it kind of boosts their metabolism a little bit. But I give them grit every day. Just a little bit with mealworms and oatmeal and garlic powder.
Mine's in the sandbox.
Yeah, I mean I have sand, yeah, and I have sand in my, that's another good thing. I put sand in my run because it's easy to rake and it just keeps it clean. Some people are like, don't ever use sand. I like the sand because when they're pecking at it, they can get just a little bit of grit naturally.
And then you get a nice layer of bad, poo, dirt. This winter, it's just.
So through the winter, I will add an extra 2 bags of play sand just to freshen it up and scrape it around just to keep it just keeps it fresh.
Is it a problem having the coop in the woods?
Is it a problem what?
Having the coop in the woods?
No, I mean, as far as, again, the gentleman that I just saw, I looked up, I was like, ooh. I'm like, So you see all these big pine trees. I'm like, see all these big branches that fell from the pine trees? I'm like, you sure you want to put the coop right here? And he was smart. He said, well, all of these branches have already fallen, and all of those branches have already fallen. He said, so I think this spot's safe. I was like, okay. You know, but pine trees make me so nervous anyway, but I have probably 3 new registrations that are very close. The only thing I will tell you, and the same thing I told him, so he's got a pretty big yard, and his house is here, and it's in the way back corner. And I said, so, it's 3 feet of snow. It's freezing. Are you shoveling out to that coop, or do you have a snowblower? What's your plan? And he was like, yeah. I might move it a little bit closer. I'm like, yeah, I think you should. Just a little bit closer. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're in the woods, you definitely want to predator-proof that big time, and it should be fine. I mean, sun is important, but they have these awesome solar lights. I don't know why this is frozen now.
Yeah, sun, they do need some sun.
They need, the more light they have, the better they lay. But I can come out and look and see. I mean, if you're talking oak trees and they're way up, but the shade is nice in the summer, but the sun will heat it a little bit in the winter too. So depending if it's like a deciduous tree and the leaves fall off, they're gonna get the sun. But yeah, it's fine. Should be fine. Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
Is the coop like considered like another structure on property?
No. You don't have to go to the building inspector. You're okay. No taxes. There's no taxes on the coop. No taxes on the coop. Anybody else? Yes.
What's the average laying years for it?
That's another great question. My girls have light and music 24/7, so my girls lay all winter long. So my expectancy, my girls are going to stop laying sooner than hardly any of my girls molted. If you let them just go through the process naturally and you're okay not having eggs all winter, you're probably looking at like five years, give or take. Mine might stop laying 3 to 4 because I'm pushing them to lay more. I'll let you know. I don't know. They're going to be, the first batch is going to be, they're going to be 2 this year. So we'll see how it goes. They're all right now, and we had a few slow down in the winter, but I never had a day that I did not have eggs. I mean, I'm not getting 10 a day. Right now, I think I had 6 today and 6 yesterday, so somebody's still not quite back pulling their weight yet, but that'll come. Spring's coming. Anybody else? No questions too silly? Yeah. I'm sorry? Oh, their personalities. I'm shocked at how, I'm literally shocked at how much personality they have. And they're smart. They're way smarter than I thought they'd be. But I love the eggs. And I literally, they even hear me open the sliding door to let the dogs out. They can hear me, and they all start calling me. I'm like, oh no, but they're great. They'll follow me around the yard. They like meat. You can give them like hamburgers, like if you have leftover hamburger from a cookout. My husband made that mistake, so now he's outside, he's on the grill, and I look, and all the chickens are right around him. They literally sit, like the dogs, they're all around him waiting for him, and now he will literally cook them a burger. He's like, well, this burger's for the dogs, but I go in for the chickens too, and they love it. Love it, but it's all protein, so it's good for them. You know what I mean? I'm surprised at how funny they are. They're turned out a lot better than I was like, oh, I'm just going to get eggs. I knew I'd name them, but they're fun. And do you have any questions?
What breeds do you think have the most personality?
So, I mean, personality as far as being funny or wanting to be held. There's a small window when you first get your chicks that they why am I drawing a blank on the name? No, I'm trying to blank about they bond with you between 3 and 5 days. And yeah, so, and they literally, you have that first couple days and you're holding them all the time, and then when you go over and you peek in the brooder box, they'll give you the sideways eyes. They're like, oh, I know you. And they'll totally bond with you, and that's why they weren't afraid of my dogs either. You have that time. If you buy a pullet and an older chicken, that might come with time, but the buff Orpingtons are just, any Orpington is just generally, it's like your golden retriever or yellow lab of chickens. Yeah. Right? I mean, they're just so easygoing. There's no drama. I mean, I've never had Rhode Island Reds, but I've heard they can be awful.
I looked at egg layers, right? I was going to get, I just want eggs. So we got 4 Rhode Island Reds, and they lay eggs. They do, but they're not the friendliest.
You're not friendly.
They
So,
like the kids, like, you know, the neighborhood kids who are scared. And they're loud. Ours are loud.
I mean, it depends.
What about, you got a rooster?
What about what?
Oh, violent.
Oh, right. That's a good question. Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. So that's a good point. So I've lucked out. I've never gotten a rooster, thank goodness, because like I'm thinking to myself like, oh, if I get a rooster, this is gonna be my luck. This is to be my favorite chicken. I'm gonna have to get rid of it. You absolutely cannot have roosters in town. It's a noise ordinance. I personally think roosters are a great addition to any flock, but the town's not gonna go for that. They do keep the order within the hen house. If there's pecking going on, they put it to end immediately. But if you do get a rooster, some of the stores will take them back. There is a guy in Westford, I have his number. He will gladly take them. I'm sure he eats them. No, he'll take them free of charge. The MSPCA is getting inundated with them because there's a lot of towns that are, you know, you're taking, it's like a 96% chance that it'll be a female. But be careful, if you go to Tractor Supply, they sell straight runs, they're all mixed. That's you're totally winging it. Nothing is 100%, but Dodge Grain, knock on wood, they've been good. Besides that Australorp, if that wasn't a barred rock, I've had all females. But if you have a roo, you're not going to know until he starts to crow. And then you're going to call me, and you're going to be like, I can't believe it. And we'll help you find a home for him or get rid of him. But it's probably not going to go live at the big happy rooster farm that everybody thinks there is. He's probably going to be on someone's table.
I feel like some breeds too are harder to sex, so they can't figure it out.
Yeah, there's like all sorts of things. And I racked myself crazy with my first 8. Like, you know, you can like spreading their feathers out. I'm like looking at. I'm like looking at everything. I didn't know what I was looking for. I really didn't. But Dodge Grain, mostly all females. But there are some breeds that are sexed just by color. Like if they're all like, say they're white, they're guaranteed a female. I don't know if they're winter hardy. I don't see them around here too much, but you know, go to a reputable place. And well, I got 2 from a friend that had a farm. That was just a complete luck. You know, they both ended up being female. So, but she would have taken them back because she lives in New Hampshire and she can do anything up there. Anybody else? Who still thinks they want to have chickens? Not so sure now. Yeah.
All that rain, oh my goodness, all that rain we got, it was like a poop swamp in my backyard. I'm not kidding. So you need like good boots.
Yeah, I have boots that are just for my coop. I don't, and where I'm doing my farm inspections, I never wear the same boots. Those boots, my boots stay at my own farm, and when I go to inspections, I have different boots, and I wear booty covers on those, because you don't want to be, you know, that's a new thing now. They all do these coop tours. That sounds like a great idea. Oh, Susie, let's go see your chicken coop. Okay, let's go over to Mark's house. Let's check out his chicken coop. Yeah, I don't want you walking from coop to coop to coop, like, you know what I mean? Like, even though your chickens are healthy, you don't want to be like traipsing poop across each other's coops. Do you know what I'm saying? Anybody's welcome to come to my coop anytime they want. You know, you can put, you know, you're not going to walk in it per se. But once you initially get it set up and you get it going, it's not bad. And like I said, do some research online too. And the day-to-day stuff isn't bad, but you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I mean, you gotta, the winter. I was out there one time this winter going, and they're waiting. I mean, I'm shoveling as fast as I can, and they're like, screaming at me. I'm like, girls, I'm coming out as fast as I can. You know what I mean? My husband usually snow blows, but he was away traveling, so that didn't work out so well. But you're more than welcome to come up. You can ask me more questions if you want. If you want to talk about anything, you can take a peek at the eggs. Like I said, I have, well, there's a lot of different ones here. I only have one blue one today, and the bantam egg from Little Crazy Maisie. Isn't that so cute?
I've gotten a real tiny one before, and I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, no, that's a bantam egg. That's Little Crazy Maisie, and it tastes just the same. I mean, you might want to use 2 if you're using them to bake. That's actually perfect for an English muffin. Because like by the time you know what I mean. And when you get your first egg, I remember being like, taking pictures of myself with it. I was like, you would have thought I laid it. I was so excited. I was so excited. I was like, this is unbelievable. But like we stared at it for like a week before we're like, well, what are we gonna do? And then like we eat it, and it's like literally this big. So we're all like cutting it into, so they start off, don't freak out. They do start off, when they first start laying, they're really tiny. And then now, I'm actually on the hunt for, I want an antique egg scale, the old fashioned ones where you just put them. I have my sister-in-law up in Maine looking for one, because I have some of them are so huge, and it will tell you like, it's a large, an extra large, like, you know, that's how they grade them. So that's gonna be my next thing. Obviously Maisie's eggs aren't probably gonna tilt the scale too much, but she's too cute to, even though she's not the best. She hasn't laid one in about a month, but I'll keep her anyway. Yeah. I have, see, that's another, I haven't had a double, the Easter egg is 10. Double yolks they're huge.
That's huge.
They're good. So yeah, so come on up, take a look at the eggs. My business cards are on the back. We have registration forms. We have the new guidelines. And any other questions, just come on up, and thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.